Alright guys, making progress, albeit rather slow progress sometimes, but you may have noticed that I finally got this kind of problem area in the middle field. And I tried a few things, just kind of mocking things up, and the best I came up with under the circumstances was, of course, to carry this line back, which leaves a little bit of a ridge here, so we still have that character line there. Then I brought another piece that kind of came down, followed the same line as what we have here on the strife, but instead of leaving it flat like on top here and having kind of a weird, I don't know, I just really didn't like having the flat top on the long shot front gun body. And so I just kind of brought this guy, just kind of angled it in and kind of met up with the line here from the Raven. It really doesn't like match up, but it kind of meets up a little bit. This kind of comes down here, and I just kind of sloped this guy forward. This was another area where if I'd cut it off straight, it would have been weird, but I couldn't really think of anything else clever, or just really nothing I was happy with. And so I just kind of brought it forward a ways, and basically just kind of brought everything back and kind of pulled this line back here instead of having instead of making this straight all the way up. I wanted to kind of carry the lines. Since we have so many body lines going all over the place in the same area, I wanted to kind of make them somewhat more common. So that's why I played off of this line here and brought it into this and that and kind of tied them together a little bit more so it feels a little more cohesive, kind of. There's only so much you can do with, given the circumstances. And then on this side, it was a lot more open, but that was kind of a bad thing because I didn't have anything really to play off of. And so I just kind of brought this whole panel here and brought it in at the same angle and made this little extension as well to kind of match the other side. And here I think I'm just going to leave it open. I thought about trying to create, raise the surface a little bit and try to mimic the other side, but I don't know, I wasn't really happy with that idea either. So, and this is just sheet styrene, same as I've been using elsewhere, and I'm hoping this ends up looking as nice as I intend it to, but we'll know more once we actually get some paint and stuff put on it. Another addition up here is actually kind of a bit of a visor thing. I talked about doing kind of a visor like the Cam ECS has, but I tried to put some pieces together to scratch build something, but it looked very raw, very scratch built, and I didn't like that. And so this is actually a strong arm priming slide that has some of the details removed, and I kept the little iron sight kind of details just because it's cool. That are harmless anyway. So that still leaves room for the voltmeter in there. It's not super visible, but I do kind of like the effect this has where it kind of pulls the lines back a little bit, and it kind of feels somewhat kind of aggressive a little bit. But I like the little notch in the top, which I thought was kind of cool. So you still get that kind of visor feel, kind of covering things up, but yet it still leaves it a little more open. But I don't know, I just thought it was kind of a nice look, and I might actually revisit this in the future because I'm just kind of happy with how that looks overall. And I ended up having to cut a section, pretty substantial amount of material out of the middle and just shortened it up. So we have the this original line back here where the little sling point or whatever was on the back, and then cut a section out. And this is the front part of the blaster, or the front part of the priming slide. So I just flipped it around and trimmed the majority of it off, but I don't know, I'm there again pretty happy with the effect. Still fitting this guy a little bit, still need to do some filling in here to blend that. Did some work on the tank and stuff. I think the rest of the body is pretty much the same as it was when we left it last time, but I've had a chance to start playing with some of the internals. And what we have here is the an XBZ that's been shrunk substantially, so it's probably about the same size as that Supermax tank I was playing with before. But I like I think having the actual blast button instead of the pull pin allowed me a little more flexibility on a trigger setup. So what I have here is a miscellaneous trigger out of a parts bin that I honestly don't remember what blaster it was from. I had pieces of the rest of it somewhere. But I just kind of built a little ramp here, and there's some kind of piece of a lock or something. I can't remember what was on the side of the trigger piece, but I shaved down what was left and made it fit this little slot here on the bottom so that it kind of slides. I need to build a little bit more into it, but at least we have some trigger action. And once I have the tank mounted solid, it should sit there and push the button. The tank's just kind of floating in there right now. I need to put some blocks in there so I can orient it so it's not gonna rotate or flop around or anything like that. But I'm still working on the kind of fine-tuning the fit and trying to get this trigger to work reliably. So there's that, and then in the back I was able to find a compressor, and this is just that cheap $10 air compressor thing that you get from Harbor Freight, which turned out to be a lot bigger than I expected, but given the time constraints of the contest being like a week and a half away, I couldn't really be too picky. But I played with the orientation, you know, put it in different directions and stuff like that, and I think the fit is just kind of roughed out right now, but I think I can get it to fit like that. I'm going to build an extension off of the magwell mouth, you know, the liner thing that you know, the magazine slips into. I think I'm going to build a piece off of it to box it out a little bit so that it'll kind of blend the line from, you know, from this line to this line, so you don't have this kind of weird cutout thing, since this doesn't need to look like a magwell. So I'm going to build that not only for looks but also to clearance for the very bottom here, and that should give us enough room for the compressor to do its thing. Wiring will come out at the top, which means that because I'm planning on putting the LiPo back here, we should be able to run the LiPo main circuit and then just jump off of it to the switch into the compressor itself. And that's what I have here. Is I think I talked before about trying to utilize this mag release button for a switch, and I started mocking up that a little bit. Sure, if I put it right about there, it should go. I don't know if you can hear the click, but that is a very confirming little click on that, so that should work pretty good. Just need to find a way to mount that solid, and I won't even need to use the return spring or anything for this, but it'll act as the on-off switch for the compressor. Still haven't figured out a pressure gauge or anything for it, so that might have to come later, or I don't know, we'll wait and see how that goes. And what I'm hoping is that I can get a fitting of some kind to replace, this is where the original dial was for the pressure gauge that came with the compressor, is get a fitting to come from that into this airline, and it'll come out. I just need to make a little clearance through kind of this area here, cut off the top of this guy probably, run it across. I still need to cut this guy off too, but then it'll come across and run down through here. Had this going the other day. There we go. So that guy should be able to drop down through kind of this magwell area here without causing any problems. Drop along the front of where the magazine will be, and that should still be plenty out of the way. So it'll go from the tank through the magwell, through this area, up across the top. Need to clearance that. Come in, I'll splice in a gauge somewhere, and then hopefully drop it down into the top of this little manifold here. So hopefully that works out. There's still a little bit of fitting to do to get the compressor to actually fit in all the way. Let's see, I got that guy in there, and there we go, that fits in most of the way. Pretty close, a little more clearancing. I might actually need to remove a little material here and build a cover, which is okay because this is kind of a weird recessed area anyway, so I might just pull it all the way across and kind of blend this in a little bit more in order to get that little mount to work. But it's really close to fitting. So a little more work on the tank side of things. Still need to start on the actual rewire. I have a set of fangs set aside for this, but I don't know if I'll be able to get covers bought or built before the deadline, so I might play more conservative. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure I'm going to make the contest deadline, at least not with this blaster in the form I would like it to be. So it's either a toss-up between compromise on what I want in order to make the deadline, or I, forego the competition and just build something the way I'd like it to be built. But I still have, I guess, about a week to figure out that, so anyway, that's kind of how things are shaping up so far. Things are getting close, relatively close. Bodywork is pretty much roughed out. There's just some fine-tuning here and there to figure out. Just a little bit of glaze putty. Then we can get it in primer, so hopefully at least next time you see it, it'll be at least in primer, if not better, and maybe at least one of the firing modes will be sorted out. So, still more work yet to be done, and as soon as I have something good to show you, I will let you guys know. And we'll see you next time.